hope you weren't very much bored waiting, for me to come on stage. I know you were waiting. And here I am. So, one request, come closer. So let's say we see 3 of you are there and then 3 of you are here. So probably come in center, come and occupy all the seats, and so that we look like, a closer audience. Yeah? So you too. Probably you can join that table or, yeah. Exactly. Thanks a lot for the light. Yes. Okay, so we had a registration of around 180, and this is what you can see, what happens in Gurgaon, Delhi. I don't know why people don't want to educate themselves and, be ahead and know something extra. But that's it. So we are a Claysian community for Delhi and Gurgaon, and we have been in existence since 2015. And we means me, Sajid, and Meghna. And so last year, December, we crossed 100 events. And so a bit about me. I am Deepti Jain. I am an Agile consultant. I run a boutique which is called Agile Virgin. Generally, when you Google Agile Virgin, many a times, restricted content also comes. I did not have it in my mind when I was thinking of company's name. For me, by default, we are all Agilist, which means we all are inspecting and adapting, and it's not just about survival of fittest, but it is also about inspect and adapt. That's what this human race has always done. So that's where Agile Virgin comes in. And we do a lot of community work, and that's where I also connected with a Claysian. My work required me to do, and everything. Oh, they also run a community. So that's how we started official Agile Virgin and a Claysian community for entire NCR region. And I consult, and that's where, after some time, I also started running conferences. And even today, after lunch, we have 2 of our other conferences. One is Visual Bench, focus on visual thinking, and another is Change Agent Summit, which is an amalgamation of industry and academia, generating a report on where the change agents are heading in the time which is changing. So that's a lot about me, and with no more delay, I will request Sajid to do further delay with introducing himself and then pass on the mic to Meghna.
I think I already have. Hey everybody, my name is Sajid. I work with a company called Trundle. You'll find a lot of us wearing these cool jackets that I only got for Trundle people. Jokes apart, but yeah, I've been working with Trundle for 4 years. Been with the Delhi community for 5 now. I believe since 2018 we've been working very closely with Deepti and organizing events. First of all, thank you everybody for coming. As Deepti mentioned, we had 180 RSVPs. We had to increase it from 150, that's the limit that we had put. We had to increase from 150 to 180. And then people still kept reaching out to us, hey, I cannot register, can you increase the count? And we did. And 40 of you turned up, that is good enough. So once again, thank you everybody for coming. Yes, thank you. About the Atlassian community, adding on to what Deepti mentioned, the goal of this community has been, as I said, like some of the pictures from previous meetups, right? So we have somewhere around 1,000 plus community members, but we have, I would say, 5 to 10 people who are very regulars. There's some of those faces here. Yes, Vikram has raised his hand. Obviously, Dheeraj is also here in the room. So there are some active regular members. Other than that, Anurag has attended 2 now. You don't get credit for that. But apart from that, we've had new faces each time, and that's also, I think, a good idea. Obviously, yes, as I said, there are more. But the goal of this community has been to help people get together with the people who do similar sort of work, right? So that's the goal, and like we do a lot of events each month, at least once we do it. I specifically came back to this photo to show you that we won the Setting the Standard Community Award for 2023 at Teams 23, which is a big deal for us. Thank you so much. We do a lot of virtual and physical virtual events. If you cannot make physical as well, join us for virtual. You'll find a QR code outside that you can scan, and that will directly take you to the meetup group or the community page. And yeah, that's about me. So I'll hand it over to Meghna to introduce herself.
Alright. Thank you guys. I cannot add more what you have already covered, but my name is Meghna and I have been part of this amazing community from 3 years now and been a part of the Atlassian ecosystem for more than 7 years, which is, joining the community, I've realized that, your work can be just more than your work 9 to 5 job. It's what we are here for, like spending our Saturday morning together. That's the power of the community. And we wish that, we continue to do that, get you people around us and, share that knowledge and, be creative together and as a community grow together. So thank you everybody for coming.
Thank you. I also want to share something. So Sajid is not just this bundle of energy and creativity and a technical genius. He is also a conference organizer. He started, a conference with Trundle, the company he works with. He also initiated a quiz whiz game, which is an Atlassian adopted, event in the ecosystem. He also plays amazing guitar and sings so well. Of course, not better than me. I also sing. Meghna, on the other hand, the aura, look at her. The aura she brings in. But, she's an artist. She draws, she paints, and she creates abstract art. And we have been wanting to do this, wine and cheese and draw workshop. We are planning to do it in January sometime. And so that's about them and me. Oh, I'm also talented. And there's so much we'll explore when we meet during the break. Okay, so should we?
Yeah, we might have a couple of more things to say before we actually begin with the work, right? So this is why you are here. Obviously, the Atlassian High Velocity event just got conducted in Sydney, and the entire month of November we are hosting this in separate cities. There are 20 cities that are hosting this year. And the idea is that anything and everything around ITSM, specifically if you are a Jira user, we have Trundle's experts, ITSM experts specifically here. If you have any question around ITSM, around JSM, need any help, anything on the Atlassian ecosystem, you'll find Trundle people sitting there helping out, ask them questions. There's a raffle that we are going to do at the end as well, which kind of relates to the session that we'll do. So we'll do a session. I will be one of the speakers and I'll talk about the Sony Music use case that we recently published with Atlassian. It's a brilliant case study. I won't let you go through like a lot of details in text. There might be slides, but we'll just talk. And apart from that, there's a panel discussion. So obviously Deepti is the moderator for it. We have Manas and Diksha from Atlassian. We have Chris here who's going to join the panel discussion. And then we'll officially talk about that. But overall, at any point in time, since we are a small group, raise your hand, ask questions, engage, right? So let's not make it one-to-all kind of a conversation. Let's have a broader discussion. At any point in time, if you have questions, thoughts, concerns, please let us know. Food we will have, so that should not be a concern.
We'll give you food.
Yeah, we'll give you food. Atlassian gives us food. Anyhow. This specifically I wanted to talk about. This is an amazing sock that Atlassian sent us, but it got stuck in customs and couldn't make it to this event. So if Atlassian had maybe worked with Indian Customs and given them JSM, they probably would have tracked that service much better and delivered it on time. So we are a little sad that it couldn't make it to this event so that you guys could take it. But we're glad at least Trundle and Agility today is here. So there is some swag. You might have already got the socks. If you've registered, there are more Agile Alliance swag outside that after the session you can go and pick up as well. But this socks will be in the community after the event, so hopefully tomorrow, day after, next week, whenever it comes. All future events, anybody who comes in gets a sock, right? Because we have a lot of socks that we have. And Deepti, me and Meghna can only wear as much.
And so then another interesting thing, in case you want to understand how Trundle solutions can help you with ITSM and other stuff, there is a demo booth outside. Huge thanks to our local sponsors, Trundle, Agile Virgin. Thanks to Rakhi, Women in Agile and Tech, a forum dedicated to women. In case any agility solutions you want to talk about, you can always talk to me, Rakhi. That's Agile Virgin. And Agile Alliance. Those of you who don't know what is Agile Alliance is a global organization, the very first organization that emerged. And it's a community organization. It's not for profit, based out in US. They're huge and the user base is huge, I mean, all around the world. And so there are goodies from them as well, and there are a lot of offers. So we have collected your mail IDs, the information from these local community sponsors for Atlassian, and what's going to happen further with Atlassian will be mailed to you. And feel free to pass it on to your friends.
Alright, final thing, like as BP has already thanked Agile Virgin, Alliance and Trundle, there's also one special guest, which is Old Street Solutions. Chris, thank you for joining in. People couldn't make it to Gurgaon from Gurgaon, but he made it from England. So
yes, I know.
that he was able to show up. Right? So with Old Street Solutions, obviously Chris was the co-founder, and now which is part of Tempo. So if you have used custom charts, he's the guy who envisioned it.
Yes.
And if you have problems with custom charts, he's the guy you should point fingers at. Anyways, with that being said, I think that's all we had to talk about. Meghna, if you have anything.
That's not all.
Yes,
This is this is just a beginning.
Yeah.
So should we let Sajid talk about the need as in the case study with Sony Music?
Already?
Yeah. I mean, do we want to? Any questions? Any comments from anybody?
Yeah.
Very silent group. So I am a very bad speaker, right? So what I'll do is I'll probably just come and sit next to you and just talk about the Sony use case. And if anybody has any experience with similar use cases, make them speak, right? Again, we have just 40 people, so I don't have to be nice. The video we control, so we decide what parts we edit out, right? So that's what we're going to do. And if there's nothing else, I think maybe we'll just directly
The
begin.
important question is, have we had like enough coffee for this?
Yeah.
Because this is a very silent group already.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Probably just stand up and
Coffee.
shake. It's like a shake. Stand up and shake, guys.
Yeah.
Shake. Come on, everyone. It's just, hey, come on, everyone. You have to compulsorily stand up and shake.
Oh, that's nice.
I think now we are good.
Standing wouldn't work, you have to shake it. Yeah. Alright.
Okay, so let's give space to Sajid. Sajid, over to you. And,
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
The case study that we are going to talk about. How many of you have heard the name Sony? Obviously, everybody has heard the name Sony, right? How many of you have heard the name Sony Music? How many of you have heard Sony Music Publishing? Now, the hands will keep on going lesser, right? So, Sony Music Publishing is, or SMP as they call it, is the case study that we are going to talk about. It's publicly available on the Atlassian site as well, under a case study, so you can at any point in time go back, thank you, and see this case study as well. I'll give you the link probably at the end. So what we're going to talk about in the next 20 minutes, 25 minutes and have more conversation around it is how Trundle and Atlassian work together and delivered JSM or a better ITSM solution than what Sony Music was doing and what was the whole logic about. Alright, you already heard about me, what I do, so I'm not going to go into that slide. Let's move on. So this is actually one of the quotes that one of the top execs at Sony gave us when we were writing this case study. Right, so digital transformation is a buzzword, right? Everybody talks about, yes, digital transformation is the need of the hour. We need to help customers, get solutions faster. But how to actually make those things into reality is what we were trying to work with Sony. And Sony, we'll talk about the story. We'll talk about what the agenda is, and you guys will understand how important Sony Music Publishing is to the whole picture of when we listen to a song on Spotify, and how the work that Atlassian and Trundle did together with Sony impacted the overall, turnaround of it. Alright. So this is what we are going to talk about. We're going to talk about the stakeholders, we're going to talk about the story a little bit, problem statement, solution, and what the end result and the next step for Sony is. There it is. So obviously Sony Music case study, Sony Music is a key stakeholder along with Trundle and Atlassian. There are a couple of marketplace add-ons as well that we leveraged and they helped us as well. Custom charts being right there up on top with Proforma, Script Runner, Hues for JSM, JImage Cloud and My Request extension. They also have a couple of other Atlassian products as you see. They use Jira software, they use Confluence, they use Bitbucket and they use Bamboo as well. So when the original question came in, why we needed to have Sony Music Publishing deliver better results, right? So this slide I specifically put together just to give you an indication of why it's important, right? So let's see this. Have you heard of the song called "Love Yourself" by Justin Bieber?
Yes.
Of course, yeah. Do you know who the songwriter is?
No.
Do you know this guy?
Yeah.
Ed Sheeran wrote the song "Love Yourself." We always know the song or the singer, right? But we don't understand what the songwriter did behind the scenes. Ed Sheeran is fairly famous, obviously. Quite a few must have already known him. Have you heard of this song called "Diamonds" by Rihanna?
Yeah.
Do you know the songwriter? Do you know this person? Do you know Sia?
Yeah.
That's Sia. That's the original face of Sia. She does not come on videos usually. She uses like a designed. She used to have kids in her videos earlier, but that's Sia. Sia wrote the song "Diamonds." Again, the difference between what a singer is doing on stage and what the songwriter is doing in the back end, right? Let's look at more examples. Selena Gomez, "Bad Liar." You know who the songwriter is? Probably not. It's a songwriter called Julia K. She's one of the unfamous songwriters. That's usually the case, right? You don't have other songwriters who are also singers. That's why you know Ed Sheeran and Sia, but probably not somebody like a Julia, who was another of the songwriter of the song Bad Liar. And like the last example is Weekend, Can't Feel My Face, Katy Perry, I Kiss the Girl, Britney Spears. Again, very, very famous songs, genre and like decade-defining songs. All of these songs were written by this one guy. I'm 100% sure none of you know him. So it's a guy, Swedish guy named Max Martin. And he has written so many songs that you would never like recognize. Just go to Google, type his name, search for who's the songwriter for Hit Me Baby One More Time or Can't Feel My Face, right? And you'll see the songwriter's name. And then you'll recognize why a company like Sony Music Publishing comes into picture and is important to the overall platform. It's important because it's not just the stage shows and everything, how that song got written. And that's what Sony Music Publishing does. It helps songwriters get their royalties, it helps songwriters get their due in the hit single that they made, right? Any Swedish upcoming composer to a very unfamiliar, like nobody knew Sia in this room, right? Like a very unfamiliar famous person. How all of that is tracked from the song, the moment it is entered into a system saying that, all right, this is a song, this is songwriter. If the song makes $100, how much of that will be in songwriter's pocket? All of that entire process earlier was worked by this method. So there were emails that were being used, there were internal drives to direct much of the data. They were using Microsoft Office softwares and putting information in that and like sending emails across from one team to the other and like, you know, global, there was a global communications assets team which were running the entire show at Sony Music Publishing. They used to have a simple service desk using Outlook rules. That's how chaotic it was. And that used to cause a lot of missed emails and somebody's not getting their royalty for like 6 months because of one email Outlook rule misfiring and sending the email to a different person and it's just in their queue for 6 months. And the volume, right? With each day the amount of songs, the amount of music that gets published online. We usually are part of that algorithm, so if we follow X artist, we'll get recommendations for Y. But we'll never hear like a A or a B in that big list, right? Every day new music composers are coming, songwriters are coming, singers are coming. How do a company like Sony Music Publishing take ownership of all that and put it in a place where they're able to give everybody, like if it's an Ed Sheeran single or if it's a Max Marin song, how do both of these get equal respect in terms of the content that is coming to them, right? So this was the problem. And it's like 35 global affiliate offices across the world used to send emails to each other saying that, hey, this is a new contract that we've signed, this is a royalty that has to come in, and then it used to be tracked using comments and like emails, and that was the idea. So obviously one of the issues was the last one, which was the key point in contention. Sony is a name synonymous with technology, right? Sony, Sony Music came much later, but Sony as a company has been in technology way back, right? So they had a brand name to protect. So they were getting a little nervous, saying that, hey, we were not sure that it's working out the best way that it can. So we reached out to them. They were already using Jesus software, right? So development part and everything is sorted out. But for a company in their umbrella like Sony Music Publishing was struggling because of income matching, calculation, processing payments, the time that it was taking. Right? So that's when we had a very long and planning discussions with people from Atlassian, Trundle, Sony Music Publishing got together, and we defined these two main goals. Now there were more, but these are majorly the main goals that we defined. That we wanted to have a streamlined enterprise service request management and get people and affiliates out of their inbox. No more emails. Right? Everything has to be at a single source of truth place where you can track, you can manage, you can view whatever you want. Now, I'm not going to take competitor's name, but there were trials run with other products as well. You might have, so ITSM is obviously one way of working, right? But JSM is not the only tool doing that. There were other products in the market. So they did try some of those, didn't work out. At times it was the teams, at times it was the requirements, at times how the both of them came together to deliver a solution. That was not working out. But luckily for us and for Sony Music, it worked out really well when we were working with them. The other idea was a future-ready solution. Now this is very important because they knew the moment Sony Music Publishing will start, excuse me, I think there are more people. Jennifer, can you help out? Yeah. The moment one of the teams will start seeing some, traction in terms of lesser turnaround times, in terms of better feedback from the artists themselves, other team will raise their hand and say, hey, we want it too. So it has to be a ready, scalable solution. So it cannot be just you can create one and tomorrow you have to create it from scratch for somebody else. So for the volume of automation and for the amount of work that was going to come their way, they were hesitant to start because they wanted a scalable product. That's the solution that we worked with them. So we said, all right, let's not build a Taj Mahal on day one. Let's lay a brick. Let's take an iterative approach, start working with a couple of stakeholders and build from there, right? Generic agile practice. So we created one service desk form. Is everybody in the room familiar with how JSM works? Any questions from anybody? No? Everybody understands, right? So on a high level, you don't have to be an expert on it. But as a user, what JSM basically does is, if you are a user, you are able to log into a form, submit details and track what is happening with your request. That's the most simplest sentence that I can put it. So we started with one simple form for GCA teams saying that, all right, you can put some requests here, like if there is a new contract that has been signed, just enter that contract details, all of the information that you were sending in emails or Excel sheets earlier. Then we'll start seeing how we can track it. Over a period of time, it grew. By the time I think we entered the official pilot and we called it, okay, this is a good place where we want to be. As of now, it was somewhere around 9 request types and somewhere around 10 simple efficiencies when we initially began. That, okay, this is what we'll begin. Obviously, the features of creating subtasks, tasks, was also coming in very handy for those teams. Subtasks specifically being called out by a lot of people. That's the reason I put that specifically. You would be thinking, why is subtask important? But think somebody who is not from a tech background, how easy it is for somebody to just say, all right, I'll break down this task and 5 other people have to work on it. Right? So that's why I think it impacted Sony Music case specifically, and that's the reason I put that there as well. A couple of details around what of the new processes was, we basically, as I said, we created a GCA delivery desk, and it had a very simple workflow to begin with, like submitted to accepted to in progress to done, and at times there were claims that were being created, those were rejected, and like the entire workflow and everything was put in place in a manner as generic as it can be, so that the management is able to get a report at the click of a finger, click of a button, right? Obviously, we had to collaborate with a lot of people who were there, creating those requests, sharing those requests. That's when those partners that you saw on the marketplace, those people came into picture. When we had to deliver reports using custom charts, when we had to write automations using script runner. So all those partners we worked very closely with and delivered that post-implementation kind of a view where they'll be able to take it to the next level. Right? As I said, reporting, integrations, a lot of income and data transactions were happening. So it had to be a system which is, which is privacy specific. So there cannot be any data leakage. It cannot, because it's all on cloud. You are specifically going on cloud and not on data center. And we've got Sony to convince, and like we had like long conversations before that, convincing them that, hey, cloud is just as secure. Right? You don't have to worry about your data going anywhere. We understand there are names, money involved, but they took the chance and then they understood, okay, yes, it's worth investing in cloud when you have to build a future-ready solution. And we kept on increasing on that, right? As I was saying, so these are some of the aspects that we did. Like, for example, we did some automations to assign tickets. Every time it reaches a specific date milestone, how is it working out in terms of its completion? Real-time resolution was able to give critical decision-making skills. Now, a lot of team members, whenever they're implementing a solution like this, fear that it's going to remove jobs, right? We'll see how that actually worked out the other way. Sony had to increase their headcount because they were able to utilize their team members in a much more productive way than just working on emails and Excel sheets. There were comments. These are just some examples of specific items that we worked with them to deliver, like the comments, the automatic behavior with script runners, how change management was put into place. So that change management is a tricky thing, right? Like nobody wants to change, right? If there is one way things are working, you always feel like it's going well. Nobody asks the question, can it be better, right? If something breaks down, then you say, yeah, we need change. But usually what happens is if things don't break down, you don't look for a change. You will continue working in that model. So that's where we had to work with them and like take them along on a journey of change management. As of now, when I say now, that means almost 6 months back when this case study was published officially, they had somewhere around 200 automations to date. And their logic was, even if one automation is saving 2 minutes per day, that's almost 1,500 hours of operations saving. That's the amount of money Sony was able to save in terms of context switching, in terms of work that was being delivered to the correct audience at the correct time. Because obviously you can have access-specific reports, you can have requirement-specific issue types, request types. So people who want to see specific item, they can only be shown that and not throw the entire Excel sheet or graphs at them, right? Same place can mean different views for different people. As we started getting more traction, what we had anticipated earlier happened. A lot of other teams came to Trundle and Atlassian and Sony saying that, hey, we want one of those. So the legal team came, they said, all right, we want for contract management. Human resources came, they said, hey, we want it for employee onboarding. In Trundle, in my own company, we actually have an admin portal which runs our lead management, our financial reimbursements, any tickets that we have to submit for certification requests, those kind of things. You can, again, go to the live demo and you'll be able to see how we are using JSM internally as well. And we showed those things to Sony, they were very impressed. They started using those items in their internal production registration management teams as well. This is important because the next thing that they are now trying to do is get their international artists to use JSM as well. Imagine somewhere Ed Sheeran is actually going to create a ticket. Not Ed Sheeran himself, but probably his manager or somebody in his team. But But getting the artists to get a view so that they don't have to wait for somebody from Sony to tell them, hey, this is your revenue from this song, right? So Spotify has a view called Spotify for Artists. So Spotify for Artists will tell you if you're an artist registered with Spotify for Artists, how is your song doing, right? How much money has it earned? Imagine a global picture where you can get data from Spotify, Apple, Ghana, I don't know if Ghana, I don't think Ed Sheeran would be concerned about Ghana, but still, like a lot of these platforms like Deezer, all these music streaming platforms, all their data, because the producer, or not the producer, the publisher is Sony. Sony is able to gather all that data and share it with the client itself. Over time, the solution got more and more productive. It got more and more popular, so a lot of teams started using it. And yeah, what we had thought initially, that the moment it starts becoming successful, more teams will come on board, and they did. You can see these are some of the quotes from actual Sony music executives. You can read through them. The important one is what I would want to show you. This is the second one, right? Instead of spreadsheets and like emails, they were looking at a digital product, a queue. So like for example, if you're a contract manager, you could actually look at a queue and say, all right, if there is a priority in picture, I don't need to, revert to my judgment to define which ticket is more priority. Just have already a, priority put in place so that I can, give more attention to that specific ticket and move on. And I'm not sure if you put that quote in there, but there's an actual quote if you go to the main use case or case study, which says, anytime you deliver a solution like this, you fear that there will be loss of jobs. Sony actually had to increase their headcounts by 2 people in their team member because of the amount of efficiency that they were bringing in. They were able to do more, and the management felt that this deserves more investment, and they got in more experts into the picture. Now they're exploring more add-ons in the marketplace to be more productive. They are working on getting more teams into the Jira Service Management picture altogether as well. Right. Yeah, I think that's it. So that's basically what Sony Music case study did. Any questions? Let me now start asking, make you guys uncomfortable. Yes, Manas.
We are allowed to ask.
You are always allowed to ask, yes, please. Do you want a mic? Can we have a mic? Let me get you a mic. Chris just stepped out of the room thinking he might have to answer some questions. And joking.
Hello.
Can we have the mic on?
Sandeep ji, about the mic. Hello.
Okay, I can.
No, not the light mic.
I can ask and maybe you can repeat.
Yeah. We are just being ambitious that he probably does not need a mic.
I think one of the slides mentioned something as overall time to resolution ratio.
Yes.
Can you maybe understand, like, maybe go a bit more deeper, what does that mean, and how is it different to, let's say, like just an SLA called time to resolution, right?
Yeah.
How are these two?
We can actually show it to you. So if you head over to the live demo booth, we'll actually show you the use case. We can actually show you the Sony Music portal itself and help you understand that better. But to answer in a very generic sense, the initial, as I said, like we started in phased manner, right? So when we started, we actually started using just generic resolution. Then the resolution started a little more bigger when it came to the total number of contracts that were coming in. So let's say EMEA contracts total resolution rate, I mean. Right? So not just one contract's SLA, but the entire resolution rate or resolution time that is taking for the entire EMEA. So they could understand where they had to increase headcount because maybe that is the region where the resolution time is very high. So they need more people to process those contracts there. Earlier, which they were not able to. So like if I have 5 people in APAC, 5 people in US, 5 people in EMEA, and all of them are working on the same item, but the resolution time for India is very high. So it's either a training problem, it's either the headcount might be less or it might be some other problem, right? But you're able to pinpoint where the geographical issues are. So just focus on that. So that's one of the things that help me. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's
Cool. Anybody else? Yes.
What's the overall duration of this project, and what's a great learning for particularly your team around the same thing use case, right, which you have delivered in us?
So overall time, it's still an active project for us. Sony is our customer and we work with them every day in and out. 3 or 4 people from our team are actually almost 80 to 100% capacity working with Sony teams at all times. In terms of timeline, I think the entire initiative started almost year and a half back, if I'm not wrong, right? Somewhere around year and a half back. And almost 6 months earlier, this case study was published. So since then also we've made some good improvements. Hopefully we'll have a follow-up case study. What I'm presenting here is legally cleared documents and numbers, right? So what we are working on with Sony right now, we cannot publish until Sony agrees. So this is a published material that I'm sharing. That's why the date is a little back. But yeah, we've done some good amount of work since this case study has come out as well.
What's a retrospective learning?
The brilliant, so as somebody who connects very deeply with music, right? So Deepti was kind enough to mention I play a little, I've done a bit of music in my time as well. I understood the importance of somebody like a publisher. You know, we all focus on Spotify. Like personally, I was very inspired by the way publishers work when it comes to music. With every day, the issues that you might have been seeing if you're following the pop culture about like masters being kept by publishers of songs. You know, a lot of times these guys are the devils. Very honestly, I'll say it, right? Like because as a company, as a big bright company, an artist might become a very small piece in the cog. But how does smaller cogs in the wheel, which are the songwriters, how do those get compensated? For me, that was a very big eye-opener personally as well. But for the team, it was to, like, again, since I worked very briefly on the project, my teams did. Their learning as the retrospective that we published internally was that they were able to target and get very different set of requirements, right? So like to understand what an executive wants to somebody from a contracts team, to a VP of maybe the entire product of Sony Music, right? How vastly different these requirements could be on you and how you have to cater the solution to deliver something of value to these independent people. And that was something which gave them a little more, I would say, perspective of how one size fits all does not work in technology. Yeah. Does that help, Vikram? Okay.
That's right, because I know you have a constraint of Sony not allowing you to publish a little more on top of it.
Yeah, so.
Again, tomorrow, it's a great journey, right, what you have achieved so far, and kudos to the entire team who has put in up significant effort around the same thing. But my point is around the same thing, what's a great learning tomorrow, if anything epic out of this comes in, right, tomorrow down the line, how would you be able to deliver the value to the client, which they are always looking forward for it in a lesser period of a time, right?
Right, so I think, see, generally what happens is, when we celebrated and like, we got Sony to write this case study with the Clash and it was very much appreciated and everybody was gung-ho. But other than that, you don't see it, right? Like, you don't see a wall being built each day. You just keep putting one brick each time. And then when you step back and you realize, oh, this is how big the wall has been. Probably next 6 months when we look back and see what are the changes that we've done again, then probably we'll be able to comprehend that. But I agree with you. As of now, it doesn't feel like we are doing anything big because each day is some minor adjustment, some minor automation, some minor add-on integration and adding one more team into the picture. It doesn't seem so big, right? But when you take a step back, and that's when you see the bigger picture, oh, what it did, right? That's when it hits you, and that's when it, I think, it helps as well.
No, that is absolutely okay, right? Because there are two shop, which I can call it up. One is a Walmart and another side of a Tesla. Right? Tomorrow they comes in and
Can we have mics? I think that will be very nice if you could give mics, please. Sorry, go ahead. Walmart and Tesla.
Simply saying that there are two use cases, right? One is one on Walmart and another is Tesla. Tomorrow if they comes in and ask you to deliver this solution, the same solution, and probably in next, suppose a 1 quarter, 2 quarter kind of a thing, you can do that. Because My first question, which you remember, that was around how much time it will took you to deliver this value to the client, right? That is.
So I don't think it works in that manner, sadly, because the requirements and what it needs to be successful might be very different for these companies, right? So as I said, I don't believe in technology. There's one size fits all, and in a condition like this, you can show them use cases. See, that's why you publish a use case, right? So like a company like Walmart can see what Sony did. They will probably not ask do what Sony did to us as well or work with us in the same manner, but say, hey, you've delivered such a giant's problem. I have a similar sort of problem. Let's talk. So that conversation gets going. That's when the problem, like a problem area can be anything, right? There's a very big list of problem areas to choose from when you're doing a digital transformation for any company. So that gets the ball rolling. That's why I think the use case is published, for me personally. Otherwise, it's just, Sony's use case will never help deploy the same use case in Walmart, unless it's a very generic employee engagement or a leave management tool, something like that. The requirements change a lot, but yeah, gives them confidence. Like a lot of times as a consultant, what we do is we try to find, even if a case study is not written by Trundle, right? We'll try to find a case study by Adaptivist or like Clear Vision, some of the other partners in the game, and match the industry. If the industry matches, then more or less some of the use cases might help, and then we'll understand, and then we'll try to build something like that.
That makes sense.
Thank you.
Next we can discuss more on that.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, I think Sajid, the more important thing is that even the same industries that we work with, me and you probably know that. So it really depends upon how the teams are structured in that company and the sort of business units they have, how they respond, what are their delivery timelines and all that. So every time we meet customers, maybe the overall higher level we would see that the requirements are same, but when you dig deeper, everything is different. So the most important thing for a consulting team is to make sure that when the tool that we are proposing, the stakeholders really understand exactly what the tool can do, rather than what their existing process are, and if they want to probably implement the same thing. So the challenge with Sajid and his team is maybe, the initial, month-long discussions that we normally have with customers, to tell them that, hey, you might be doing this for past 10 years. This is how the JSM can probably transform things. But look at this tool as a tool that can help you scale, help you transform, bring you the ROI that you probably need. And that's how, we probably move. So I think I agree on certain things, but every company is different.
Yeah, definitely. And any other questions? We have Diksha, we have please go ahead.
Yeah, did we do any competitive study or any research so that we can make this solution applicable for different clients?
No, so kind of building on just that, like we could not publish the official case study and like the solution itself. We can show you offline, but like we cannot publish it. This is where the case study is. Like this is basically the screenshot of it. You can just Google Sony Atlassian use case on Google and it will redirect you to this. This is the number that I was showing. They publicly agreed to 2 new jobs being created because of this work that we did, and we saved almost 1,500 hours each year with the automations we built. And there is like a diagram as well that I have not put it here because it's a little complex. It's a process diagram. So if you're somebody who understands process diagrams, it's a brilliant process diagram, right? That is publicly available as well. Check that out on this use case. I did not put it there because first of all you have to zoom it and sell it. Yeah, you understand.
I searched it on internet.
Okay.
It is there.
Yeah. So yeah, if you need any more details, go to the booth. These amazing ladies will show you the use case and tell you more about it.
Thank you.
Sure. And yeah, please.
Thank you for summarizing it very well. I want to come to the question that you said that we drive royalties for songwriters. So did we also leverage any payments integration with ITSM, or was it manual ERP?
No, so that was completely separate. Again, the amount of dollars that was dispersed by the company is a very separate team altogether. So that is taken care of the finance. If you remember the slides, it said finance came to us for some of the items, right? But it is, when it comes to a transaction and a payment gateway picture, it is handled by a completely different team. Some of their peers are working with us. I cannot disclose the entire details on that right now, but some of them are integrated, but the payment dispersal is a separate thing altogether.
Thank you.
Awesome, thanks.
Maybe you can put this question to the clashing product.
Oh yeah, so in the next 10 minutes, we'll have Manas and Diksha and Chris being harassed by Deepti and everything. Hopefully. So please ask this question to Diksha and Manas as well. They'll appreciate it.
Maybe I should change my question and ask the one now to you. Okay, so you mentioned that no one likes change, and Sony moved from a very traditional way of managing things to digitally transform themselves and come into GSM. What were the major challenges that they faced throughout their onboarding, or were there any challenges? I know your job is to make that easier for them, but when they started using the product, how long did it take them to get used to it, and anything around that?
Yeah, so I'll start with how it all began, right? So any change is tough. The magnitude of it defines how easy and how difficult it is, but any change is tough. What we were lucky enough to do was get a foot in the door with some of the change agents that we knew will help us, right? So there won't be champions always, but you can convert few people who are, inquisitive enough to come to you with a problem, and you can work with them, and those are the people that you want to focus on. That's what we did as well. We identified some top execs who were really into change. Not into change, they were really sick of the problems. So they were our prime people who we focused on, saying, all right, let's focus on these guys first, and they will help us open doors for other team members to agree on the board as well. Right? So we focused on them, and just like we are going to use this Sony use case at other places, we use similar use cases in the music industry that we had worked together, or in the content publishing industry, showed them those use cases and got them to turn first. Over a period of time, we said we will, as I specifically wrote that in the slides as well, we said we will not do anything big. We'll only layer one simple service desk where you can fill, let's say, one form. And that's when they're like, yeah, this team will come, they'll create one form, it's alright, let them do it. Slowly and steadily is when we were able to build that to a place where everybody was like, oh, they were able to do this, let me also get into the action. If you would have said that on day one that we'll build this, probably would have lost the contract. Right? So that's what happens. So it's very important to identify who your change champions are and drive it with them, not for them or not without them, but yeah, those change agents, identifying those were very key. Apart from that, I think just being open enough, right? So a lot of times as consultants, and I know a lot of you might be consultants in the room, a lot of times what happens is you're trying to sell the product way too much than solve the problem. So that's the tricky part, when as a customer you hear it, that they are trying to sell the tool. We were not trying to sell JSM to them. We were trying to solve the problem. JSM was able to do that. And then when we never said, hey, you should buy custom charts for Jira, or you should buy script runner. We said, maybe you need better reporting. And they said, yeah, we definitely need better reporting. So said, oh, why don't we check out custom charts for Jira? We said, hey, why are we doing this manual repetitive work each time and somebody is doing it? Maybe we should write an automation script for it. Said, yeah, let's do that. Said, that's when we brought in script runner. So solving the customer problem trumps everything else. When you do that, and when you're trying to do that, that's when you make a sale as a consultant. You're able to sell a product as a consultant as well. Awesome. We had one question here and one in the back.
Hi Steve, this is Aditya Verma from Nagara. So since the last question was on change, I just remembered one line which I read somewhere, change is hard at first, messy in the middle, but gorgeous in the end.
Oh, beautiful. It's a t-shirt quote if there ever was.
So I think that's what has happened with this one, working with Trundle.
Every customer.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, and coming back to my question, since they are in the business of publishing, so they might be dealing with a lot of intellectual property rights, right, which are kind of assets. So how they are tracking those assets, like are they tracking in this Atlassian ecosystem, or if not, if it's a separate system, do they need to interact with that for their JSM services?
So IPs are a very different ballgame altogether. As an artist who has uploaded music on Spotify and other places, I can tell you if I'm uploading a song, the publisher will tell me if the tags are being used in some places. Like for example, I cannot use a song sample of Atif Aslam or like Arijit Singh or Shankar Mahadevan in my song because the systems are smart enough to pick it up and say that my song has a copyright infringe on it. Right? You use YouTube, you upload your own personal video with some music. The system is smart enough to do that. As of now, Atlassian has not penetrated into that way because that market and the tool itself is completely different. Right? So, but it integrates in some sort. Integrates, as I say, not technology point of concern, point of contact, but people point of contact. So when you find, like for example, I'll give you an example. Think of a very famous song, Bollywood song. I'll start speaking in Hindi a little bit, Chris. So just a famous Hindi song like Na Koi Hai Na Koi Tha, you know that old Bollywood song. It's a brilliant Bollywood song. Yeah. When you do a background check on it, you realize that it's an old song called 500 Miles. It's an English copy, which is a very common thing in Bollywood, right? You would go back and like look at some old song, copy it, just change the lyrics and make it a completely different song. If those systems had existed back then, it would have been caught, right? But the streaming business had not come to that place where people were understanding that music is pirated or copied. Anu Malik is a big name in the field. Anu Malik wouldn't have become Anu Malik if he was Anu Malik today. He would have been caught, right? So that's the entire platform. Like it's a completely different set of game, but it has to interact at some point. So I think people interact as of now, but hopefully sometime in the future, technology can interact with technology as well. Yeah, awesome. Yes, Monica. Yeah, for the benefit of the room, Monica.
Yeah. So, like you said, like for Sony, we are fitting our process in JSM. So, if I talk about the results, so for songwriters, for singers, if they want to just get their feedbacks after that, they want to see their results. So, how we are like fitting JSM, like publishing the results, their feedback. So, how
as of now, we've not done that. So I said like that's next. The next step is to exposing the artists themselves to JSM. Artists and their teams, when I say their teams, their managers, whoever people are they working with. As of now, it's Trundle and Sony and execs and everything. That's the next step, 100%. That's what we are trying to do. That's what we are trying to build towards. To expose it to an external audience who's not part of Sony, but Sony stakeholder. So for us, Sony was stakeholder. For Sony, we are not stakeholder, we are the consultants. Their stakeholders are the people who are actually making that music. So they want to expose that information to them directly as well. And that's the end goal. That's when you hit that peak mark. Right? So that's something which is in progress. Some, I think, pilots are already ongoing. Hopefully, like it will come out, some more information might come out soon on that.
So I think that will be a more a kind of a challenge. Like if you are exploring, if you are like publishing things, and if you are like make it broader to a secure environment, then it will be a challenge for to maintain the data, to publish.
Necessarily, like JSM lets you create customer organizations, right? So in a portal, even if you are exposing that information outside, you are exposing it to customer organizations. So let's say, for example, Ed Sheeran, I keep coming back to Ed Sheeran, I don't know why. Ed Sheeran's team would be very different from, let's say, Limp Bizkit's team, let me put some new rap metal in there. Yeah, so their team would be completely different. So there would be, customer organizations that we can create where we can expose data to outside people, but still limit to who that outside presence is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for example, let's say Ed Sheeran wants to manage, particularly himself, with other clients like maybe Sony, maybe Vivo. So is that also doable and measurable in JSM?
Not as of now. So we are only working with Sony, right? So if, like for example, a publisher is somebody else, let's say Saregama in India, right? But that's that process entirely is very different, because think of the publisher as different from the music streaming service itself, right? So Spotify is not our client. Our client is Sony. Sony's output is input for Spotify, right? So as of now, we are only focusing there. We have not touched the entire cycle. When I say we, Trundle and Atlassian working together, have not penetrated to the bigger circle. That's why we said the first step is the next, or the prequel, which is the artist. Hopefully sometime down the line we will probably, maybe somebody is already working with Spotify, you know. Spotify is an Atlassian customer as far as I know. Somebody might be working with Spotify on somebody else. But again, since they are building whatever they are building, so maybe sometime sooner it might come out as well. For people who do not understand the ecosystem, right? So it's the marketplace, solution partner, developer ecosystem is huge. We have Nagaro's presence here as well. They're also one of the partners in the ecosystem, right? So they might be working with some companies. Maybe Aditya works with Spotify, does not tell us because he cannot. Right? So just like that, there are legal implications. Maybe Chris knows somebody in Apple Music and is not telling us, right? So again, until it is publicly published, we all keep our secrets to our chest and work with, like, we were lucky that we did it. We were luckier that Sony agreed to publish this material out, because a lot of times companies hesitate to do that. Yeah, but yeah, that's it. And I'm sorry, just one final question, because I think we want to give more time to Deepti and the panel as well. We had one more question in the back.
Thank you. So you made a statement that there were a couple of other vendors as well during the pitch part. So what was that? It's just a curious question. What was that key differentiator that your team took?
We never do that. Actually, the person who gets selected rarely gets told that this is why you've been selected, right? And we, like, as a company, and again, this is nothing to do with what Sony does, what we did with Sony. As a company, we have a very clear practice of we don't want to infringe on somebody else's code or like undercutting them. So, like, there have been customers, and again, this is the Indian market very openly, we all know. If X is a customer, X is not going to come to Trundle and Nagaro itself. He might reach out to 10 partners in the market and say, alright, this is my problem, give me a quote. Right? And he'll go to each of the partner in a very fresh perspective and give their problem. There have been customers who've shared proposals from other partners on screen share call with us. And Viru and I get very uncomfortable on those calls and say, hey, please, we don't want to see this. Can you please stop sharing? We don't want to see another partner's code. This is what our code is, this is what we can do, because we are confident of this, like because of X, Y, and Z reasons, right? But the partner ecosystem is very competitive, and the partner ecosystem is very supportive of each other as well. So there are quite a lot of partners. So there's Umbre, there's Entry, there's Nagaro, there's Trundle, there's DevTools. There are quite a few partners in India and US, and not even talking about the North America space where there are giants. There's Adaptivist, there's ClearVision, there are many more in that market. So I don't know what the key differentiator was, but like one of the things that might have worked for us is because we were working, some of us were working with their Jira teams already. So their software teams knew us, we had a good relationship. So maybe we got preferred when we were working with the publishing team. Don't know. Nobody can ever know. Maybe Viru has some insights he will not share.
So the thing is that, sometimes what happens is that the word of mouth is something that goes through.
Yeah.
I remember one of our projects that when I was not where the leadership team came to us and said, guys, we have this problem statement, and we've been dealing with this problem statement for past 9 months. We worked with 2 Atlassian partners, and we're still not able to set up our global service desk. It's a JSM solution. And can you help us? And just have a look. I said, you're working with partners. If they're not able to do that, we'll help those partners. No, you have a look at this problem statement. And that's how we started. We looked at the problem statement and we realized that, the issues were not with solution partners, but with the customer teams. And the way, the other partners were approaching it was not, as per us, it was not the right way to do it. So that's how that engagement started. And they are our customers. We do multiple projects with them.
They buy all the licenses from us, so that's a good thing.
So,
And we,
in that, like just, sorry, again, I'm just doing a quick time check because I think a customer-partner relationship is like a Lego fit, right? It's nothing is wrong in one partner and nothing is wrong in the other customer. It just has to be a fit. If that Lego piece fits, then it looks like an amazing, piece of art. Otherwise, it's just pointy pieces hitting each other at different places. That doesn't work. Yes, Chris.
Hey, so I've worked for a few solution partners before I became a vendor. In my experience, the big enterprise clients are quite good at working with these third parties. They'll often work with multiple ones to try out rather than just put it to the price and go with the cheapest. And I think a lot of the smaller, newer solution partners try and win on price, and that's where they lose because then they can't commit the resources to doing a great job, making a great impression, or worse, they do make a good impression, and then they hope the bigger deal will be where they make the money, but then the big enterprise client's like, whoa, now we're ordering a bigger project, we want a bigger discount, so that's my main advice here, these enterprise customers or clients know what they're doing, and they will often work with multiple partners and see and get feedback from that, rather than just trust on the one thing. So if you just try and win on price, you will struggle.
Yeah, so Chris, it's good with Trundle that we never consider price. Price is
A shameless self-club.
So the price is technically already published. This is our price. The only thing that we probably want to make sure is to get engaged with our customers. You would be surprised, from 2016, whoever is our customer is still our customer. And the business that we mostly get, especially in India, because we are still working on the marketing piece here in India, is from our existing customers, big customers. So they give us references. They bring in new companies to us. So we built that relationship up. Again, it is because of the tireless work that Sajid's team does. And we offer a lot of free services also. We don't believe, and they come and tell us more than that. It's been 13 hours.
It's not price, but free is.
No, it's just like making sure that you're building that relationship, and I think
India is a very tough market.
India is a tough market.
We'll be starting to it might become a therapy session if we start talking about this anymore. So let's take that offline. I hand this over. Any other questions, please reach out to me. I love talking about Atlassian, Agile, and the ecosystem. Please let me know if you have any questions after the session as well. But I want to now bring out Deepthi on the panel, on the stage, and then we'll have maybe some chairs on the stage so that we can put more spotlight on Diksha, Manas, and Chris. They'll introduce themselves in detail, but I want you guys to please ask as many questions.